In today's episode, we're headed to the Govan ghost town. Sitting in a desolate part of Washington, neighboring towns were few and far between. This made it a haven for crime. The small town consisted of a post office, schoolhouse, 2 saloons, and 2 general shops. It was an agriculture-oriented community, boasting a population of 80 at its peak. Murders, crimes, and tragedies swept the small town. In 1902, J.A. Lewis, a retired judge, and his wife were found dead. It was deemed as a robbery gone wrong. The robber entered the house with an axe, striking Lewis repeatedly on the head. He bled out on his kitchen floor. His wife, witnessing the crime, tried to flee but didn't make it. She was dragged to a nearby shed where she was beaten to death. Both, being retired and of old age, received sparse visitors. The bodies were discovered months afterward. In 1903, a gunman ran into one of the local saloons and shot and killed CJ, a community local. Soon after, the gunman was caught but not convicted. In 1941, a mother and her son were murdered at their home. The son's body wasn't discovered until 1949. His remains were found in a nearby field. The small community gained an ominous reputation. Crime continued to flow until 1971, when a blaze broke out and put most of the town to ashes. Minimal effort was initiated to rebuild. Today, 3 residents remain and most of the houses sit in ruins. Join us as we explore what is left of the Govan ghost town. This is known as the Govan Schoolhouse. This was a schoolhouse which later became abandoned and now it's just rotting away. Currently, the population is only 3. This whole place is essentially abandoned. So there's all these abandoned houses on that side. A lot of the old buildings from the 1800s, because this was an 1800s and early to mid 1900s active town. So after that, a lot of the buildings that were built in the 1800s, when this town really became a boom town, are now just, you can't see anything. They're completely gone, but the later ones still exist. You could see that's one of the active houses that are currently still have residences, but a lot of the buildings are just gone. Wow, it's just amazing too to see how massive this schoolhouse is, and the foundation too, a whole patio, what you would have walked onto to get in. The stairs are completely, just nothing remains of it. Wow, so this was a decent sized schoolhouse. You can see this was the main entrance. This is what they would have gone into, with an absolutely humongous view of all the fields. This was a major agriculture community and transportation for train. So it was a train and agriculture community. It had 2 main sources of revenue and job sources. Now it just is a agriculture community. Appears to be some sort of closet. There's some shelves, which I assume maybe they would have stored books and storage like that, etc. Then going off, so this would have been like the, I guess, the main section. Going off to the right, maybe these were bathrooms, but I don't see any plumbing, and there's shelves. So, but it's odd that they have 2 of these rooms, one on that side and then one on the adjacent side. Very interesting though. You could see the old doorway, which has been smashed open, and the old electrical socket. And then there's 2 classrooms. I'm going to begin with this left one, which opens up, and this is definitely an amazing sight. I love the look of the roof, being able to see through the sky like that. I see a lot of these, but they're usually not pure skeleton looking like that. Just opens up to this humongous classroom, which was a huge classroom. This was a decent sized one. Some nice windows looking out. Now this is a small town, and something I always wonder when I go to these small towns, because I know when I lived in a small town, if there's an outsider, someone who's just coming there, everyone's peering through their windows, Who is that? Why are they around? So I always wonder if people are doing that when I'm exploring these places. They just see someone with a Nevada license plate pull up into some small farm in Washington with a big camera. Like, that gots to be a sight to behold. And then veering off to the last room of the schoolhouse before we see it, which I still want to see the outside of it. I still got to take some cinematic shots of it. But then we're going to see the heart of the town, really, all the buildings and houses and everything that remains. I'm not quite sure what else we could get into, but maybe some of the other buildings will be accessible like this with no trespassing signs, which is absolutely awesome. Humongous open room. Always got to see the exterior, and keep in mind, going off this way, that's the rest of the town. We're going to head off that section in the next clip. I just want to circle around it real quick, see what's remaining. Just very nice looking. It's an interesting looking building. I love the natural decay, and something I noticed is that it doesn't look like a lot of signs of vandals, because there's no graffiti and there's no intentionally kicked in walls from what I could see. Looks like a lot of just natural decay, and that's what I always like to see. Super neat looking. Absolutely amazing. So all of this was the residential section. It's now completely gone. Quite a few abandoned houses just all along. So I actually drove past this one, and you can see there's a vehicle port, what looks like the barn, and then the house. Really neat though. It's nice to come out to a literal ghost town, and that's the schoolhouse, by the way. What you see in the distance, which is long abandoned. This place is literally gives the vibe of a ghost town. So that's the old house, and then, which I want to be kind of quick, don't want to stick around too long, you know. Seems kind of like a sketchy area. But yeah, that's the house. So let's go quick. Let's see, is there a way in? Oh, what? Look, there's a basement. Never in 1,000 years are you gonna get me going in that. What's up, Lee? Okay. Whoa, look at all the natural decay. We gotta make this super quick though, but the old stovetop, got the table. Oh, what kind of books do we got? Reading skills. Super neat. Just the cupboards in here, then the shelves. Wow. Yeah, quick with this one. Right back out. That goes into the attic, never in 1,000 years. Small bedroom, very small bedroom. And then I guess to continue, you go through this way. Just looking just a little bit sketchy. Dude, I still feel like I'm being watched like this whole time. So it's so, that's an odd feeling. Sometimes when I go to abandoned places, I just have that feeling for like no reason whatsoever. The old bed frames. So that's one of the old houses of the Govan ghost town, which now the only way of employment is the grain silos. They grow grain. That's just about it. That building's completely gone, probably an old shed. And then the vehicle port doesn't really have anything remaining inside of it for the most part. This whole place is, so I gotta watch out for snakes too. Seems like somewhere where snakes would love to hang out. Keep in mind, this was a legit town. They had a hotel, a saloon, and all kinds of services. So it wasn't just some small farm town, but it was an actual town where you could go and stay. And it was a pretty big deal. So now it's just all gone, all in ruins. So they paved this road where the main road was at. This is all, or was that remains of houses on that side as well. Now we say goodbye. And that's a wrap. That is the Govan ghost town where only 3 residences remain. The rest is absolutely gone, just demolished and non-existent. And the few buildings that do remain just lie abandoned. And as always, I hope you enjoyed. This is the Govan ghost town in the great state of Washington. I had to stop by and see how it looks, which very interestingly, you see this fencing post? They used an old truck bed as a support for it. It's kind of odd, but yeah, as always, be sure to put a like, comment down below. I appreciate you guys watching the video, staying tuned. I always like seeing these interesting old ghost towns, especially in different states, just because they're incredibly diverse. And you could see around us, it was a rural community.